Welcome to episode 16 of Red All Over the... Oh, nearly said it wrong. Because I want to say Red All Over the Land, but this is Red All Over YouTube, which is the YouTube version of Red All Over the Land, which is the Liverpool fanzine. In fact, it's the longest lasting and only surviving Liverpool fanzine there is. 27 and a half years. John Pearman's been the editor. Good evening, John Pearman.
Good evening.
You're all right tonight?
I am, yeah.
Okay, and we've got a very special guest tonight. We've got another author. Kevin Pogorzelski has written a book called Divided Cities, which covers derbies that divide cities, such as Liverpool, Glasgow, Rio, Milan, Genoa, Lisbon. And we're going to be talking to him about his book a little bit later on. But in the meantime, there's lots of other stuff to talk about. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm pleased. I'm a very special guest.
Very special guest. We only have very special guests, Kev. We don't have ordinary guests ever. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. Some people would say I'm far from ordinary. So we'll see how this next few minutes or hours, maybe minutes, if I'm unordinary. But
no, I think you're not ordinary. You're very special, and I'm sure it'll be a lot more than just a few minutes. Cheers.
Well, by the end of this, we hope to get you writing for our fanzine. So that's how special you are.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Talking of the fanzine then, John, sales are up. Sales are up of Red All Over the Land.
Issue 293, the final one of this season. The one with the double cover, the front one being for Bobby Firmino, the back one for James Milner. We're still not 100% certain that James Milner will leave, but I feel he will. I think he wants to continue playing possibly more frequently than he does at Anfield. But what a servant! What an example to any footballer starting out. The likes of Harvey Elliott and Curtis. What an influence he must have been. You could even describe him as a father figure. But Bobby Firmino, totally different. A sort of you can see he learnt some of his football touches on the beach. He's such a player, and he's possibly has reached a time when he has to leave. But what memories he'll leave us with. I mentioned a couple in the fanzine. You can't get through too many because there are too many. But the goal he scored against Arsenal when we won 5-1, and Bobby took the penalty to get the fifth goal. Mo even let him take it, and that in itself is a bit of a novelty. Yeah. But that's the night when he basically went slalom like through the Arsenal defence and scored I think it was the second goal. And wow, what a night! What a player! Yeah. And that's just it. Is when he turns his head away as he puts the ball in the net. His kung fu celebration, but more than anything, the charisma the guy's got.
That smile after he scored, everybody can feel that smile.
I was thinking,
you can't help but falling in love with the man. As a footballer, that is. What a player and what a servant he's been. You've never picked a paper up where it says Bobby Firmino upset because because that's just never happened. And he is almost the perfect footballer, and I think he's great.
And is there a chance of a mosaic, do you think, when he leaves at the end of the season?
I have heard that the club are considering letting Andy not do another mosaic. However, with James Milner leaving, how we're going to fit them both in, or how Andy could fit them both in, I don't know. But the ground's big enough, there's the Kenny Dalglish stand, there's the main stand, there's some other seats they can possibly try. I don't think they'll be doing one to Naby Keita, though.
No.
If the Beatles wrote a song about him, it was called Nowhere Man.
Okay.
But, it's sad that the Ox is going to have to leave, but what happened to him was something so unfortunate, the injury against against Roma. After that goal he scored against Manchester City, it was just beginning to make his mark on the side. And who knows, had he stayed fit and played in that final in Kiev, might have been different. We don't know.
Yeah. And there's talk of Kelleher leaving as well, isn't there? He's been linked with Tottenham or Brighton.
Well, he's too good a goalkeeper to stay at the club. You know, and play a bit part. Goalkeepers go on for a long while. Alisson's probably not. He's only just reaching his peak. Goalkeepers can go on to the 35, 36, 37. And Alisson looks like that goalkeeper. Sometimes when you watch Alisson, if you're sitting behind him, Kev sits on the cop or stands on the cop. You can watch Alisson and his total the way his concentration on when the play's at the other end, it's perfect. Goalkeepers can learn a lot from him by just sitting behind the goal and watching him when the ball's at the other end of the field. He's totally concentrating on every single thing. You know, he knows where the ball's going to come next, and that's the thing about him.
We've had that lacked concentration, and he's very much not in that category, is he? I'm thinking of the likes of David James, that their mind would go wander in their younger years, and we don't get that with Alisson.
No, I think David James' mind went wandering a lot of times. So. But no, Ali's such a goalkeeper. But my personal hope would be that they'd say to Kelleher, I can never pronounce his name properly, but send him out on loan somewhere, send him away for a couple of years, and then we can have him back when we need him. That's how I'd like to see the club do.
But because Alisson could take an injury, you know what I mean? And then we could be in trouble. Yeah, because he is a great keeper.
There's clubs abroad that could take our second string goalkeeper and help him develop into something special. And I clearly think he will be. Yeah. We'll see. We shall see.
Okay, John. So sales are up for Red All Over the Land, which is looking good. Surely it's going to be even better once the new Anfield Road stand is built and there's even more people at the match, isn't it?
Well, we would hope so. We might be able to get a couple of sellers at that, and I am out touting for sellers, offering them bribes and all the rest of it to come along. And you can't say pay because we don't pay them, so get beer tokens or whatever, food vouchers, and if anybody wants to come along and sell the fanzine at the Anfield Road end, you have to build it up yourself. There's no training program. You just do it, you learn. And the thing is, you meet people. And that's the one thing I've said about the fanzine since its first game. I've met people, and some of them people are fantastic. Like the people we have on this show, they're all special and they mean a lot to the fanzine. Once they're part of the fanzine, they stay part of the fanzine.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. All right, then, we've got some things to talk about. Let me just throw this one out there, which you may or may not have an opinion on. I don't know. The playing of the national anthem on the day of the coronation at Anfield.
Go on,
Who
Kevin,
wants to go on, Kev? What are your thoughts on this then?
I suppose rather than an opinion on the response from the majority of the people in Anfield, I'm just not a monarchist. I had a couple of texts actually after the game saying, "Oh, your booing voice was in good song," and actually, me and a few others, we just chose to have an extra point in the concourse of the Kop, to be perfectly honest, and make sure we got up for "You'll Never Walk Alone." And people are asking me, "Oh, well, why do you do it?" And I said, "Well, you're the people that are getting irate about this. I don't ask you why you do it because I wouldn't, agree with necessarily wanting to celebrate something that's cost our country a lot of money when a lot of people are going through a cost of living crisis." So there were issues for me beyond just the history of our club and the UK establishment, really.
Yeah. So does Prince Charles being best mates with Jimmy Savile and taking advice from him, and his brother being best mates with another convicted paedophile and giving what was it, 12 million of our money to shut up a woman who he says he's never met?
Well,
does that have anything to do with it?
Well, yeah, no, it does, yeah, because it's abhorrent, isn't it, that they feel that they can behave like that, and some of your your relationships that you have over the years, people can shock you in the years to come after. But the fact that we paid that 12 million to someone within the last year, and then the sort of millions of pounds on this coronation was just
And the thing with Andrew and Charles, neither of them have backpedaled or apologised properly for. Well, Charles has said nothing about being mates with Jimmy Savile, and Andrew has really said nothing of any consequence about being mates with Epstein. So they're not. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. You don't know what people. There are some people that you come into contact with, and you don't know what they've been up to. When you find out, you go, I'm not having anything to do with them anymore. Really, I called that one wrong. Neither of them have actually said that, which seems strange.
No, that's part of the problem. I think you feel like, well, we know probably we think that they think they're above us, and that's kind of the issue I have with it. Somebody said about God Save the Queen. It's about loving your country. It's not about loving your country at all. The words are for them to reign over us, and it's almost about keeping us at this peasant level below these people above us. It's not like some of the other national anthems that you hear when it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm an Australian citizen as well. And the Australian national anthem doesn't even have God in it, which is good because I'm not religious. I'm not religious and I'm not a royalist. So for me to sing God Save the King, I'd be a hypocrite twice over. But the Australian national anthem, the first line is, Australians, let us all rejoice because we are one and free. So it's about Australians. Well, I can get behind that, but I can't get into God Save the King. The thing is, though, with Britain, we couldn't have something similar because we're not free. Because if we were free, you could protest or you could show up with a yellow T-shirt on in London and not get arrested for nothing if we were free. So we're not free and we're certainly not one. We're so divided. I mean, we're divided over Brexit. There's a north-south divide. We're divided over all these different things and we're divided over the royal family. We're not a united kingdom. There's nothing united about it. We're the former United Kingdom. In fact, they should change our initials from the UK to the FUK because we are the former United Kingdom. Yeah. So, yeah, I think but then, of course, they do represent the establishment, and we know how the establishment has let Liverpool down as a city over the years. I heard that the Everton fans booed it as well last night. So it's the city. It's not just Liverpool Football Club. It's the entire city that's against it.
Well, my view is that we were provoked because when they said they were going to play the anthem, they knew what the response would be. Had they not played the anthem, there wouldn't have been a response. There wouldn't have been any anti-royal feeling at the ground. But to provoke us by saying, right, you're going to play this, then okay, they knew what the reaction would be, and so be it. There was a lot of other stuff there, chanting about Andrew and his lifestyle, shall we say?
Yeah.
And telling people where they can stick the coronation. Yeah, it made headlines, but that was what it was intended to do. They wanted a headline, but the following day, of course, down at wherever it was in London.
Windsor.
The thousands all sang You'll Never Walk Alone. And I thought, well, that's really nice of them. But didn't Charles and Camilla look ecstatic about it? Waving the flags that they'd been given. They couldn't even do that with any enthusiasm. But no, I felt the crowd were quite right. They just followed what is supposedly our divine right. I've heard people like the Prime Minister say it. This is a country with freedom of speech. We exercised that. That's all we did. Exercised our freedom of speech. We gave our verdict.
I must admit, when I heard that the club had decided that they were going to play it, I thought, oh, don't. Why are you going to do that? You know what's going to happen. And then about an hour before, I'm looking at Twitter and there's loads of fans saying they were looking forward to getting in the ground when they played it so that they could have their say. And then I thought, yeah, actually, it was a genius move to play it because there was no way there wasn't going to be a reaction. So I think the club actually played a blinder there. And then to play Walk Alone straight after it.
Well, that was the good bit because it was sort of like someone's flicked the switch. As soon as they'd finished the last beat of the royal anthem, whatever you call it, it went straight to "You'll Never Walk Alone," and everyone went from one to the other, and it was. But I don't know if Kevin would agree with this. But there was actually, for an end of season game against a team that's halfway up the league, there was a pretty good atmosphere. There's a far better atmosphere against Brentford than there was against Fulham when it was almost like sleep inducing. There was a real good atmosphere, and I felt the crowd think, "All right, we're here, we're in the mood, let's go," and they did. You know, it was. Mind you, it might have been helped by Anthony Taylor, the referee, trying to make up for his mate Paul Turney, um, giving a free kick every time we went close to a Brentford player. But it was the atmosphere was good, and I thought Liverpool played. They played well in a totally different way to the norm. The norm is, all out attack, shots galore, but the concentration levels at the back had to be there, and we got Kanate looking like, well, he looks at this moment like the next Virgil van Dijk. He's ready to take over some of Virgil's responsibilities, and some of the tackles he did, yeah. He actually managed to tackle when he didn't get blown up, which was pretty unique on Saturday.
I thought
You
that was
mentioned
usually when we play God Save the King before the Villa game, John. Just
Yeah,
get
yeah, maybe.
up with
Yeah. But
one
it's,
man crusade.
yeah, get us going. I think actually at the Villa game we might be all right because I think the only song you're going to hear is "Si Senor."
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You mentioned Paul Tierney there, so which brings us nicely on to what they're saying will be an extended touchline ban for Jurgen Klopp. What do we think about this? Kev, where are you at with this?
I'm trying to work out how long it's extended because I haven't seen what ban he's got yet.
No, I don't think they've decided yet. They're just speculating that he's going to get a long ban.
I think he accepts that he was in the wrong, which is fair enough. People comparing it with other things that have gone on. I think you need to leave that a little bit behind. You kind of take your punishment, you swallow it. It would have been nice in a way if they sort of got out of the way before the start of next season, but probably with what we're going to have riding on the last game at Anfield, everybody would take that it rolls into the next year. And if we're really lucky, because they've just requested to have the first game of next season away for the
Yeah.
completion of the, he might not even miss any games at Anfield. So if they give him the ban and he misses Southampton away and whoever we have on the start of next season, it'll be perfect for me.
Yeah. What about you,
But
John?
the thing is the game that he missed this season, we actually won 3-1, I think it was, against Southampton. So if he starts his ban at Southampton, that'll be somewhat unique. No, I don't know. I just feel there's a witch hunt, not just because it's Jurgen Klopp or Liverpool, but they're trying to defend the referee. And the thing that not just me that it annoys football fans, it annoys football people, including journalists. The referees are not answerable to anybody. They can have a bad game. They might say, okay, we've taken him off the list for the following Saturday. They haven't actually told you the following Saturday if he had even got a game.
Yeah.
But you're still getting paid because they're paid. Their contract is for a season. They're not being paid like they used to be in the old days, 20 quid a game. The contracts, they're on contracts. He's had, I can remember, he refereed this season, he refereed the Wolves game, the Arsenal game, the Tottenham game. 3 games out of 5, he was at Anfield refereeing. Have they not got any more? You used to see them once a season, twice a season, and that was it. But it shows the standard of refereeing in this country is so abysmal. Yeah, it's. People
But if
can
the
say,
managers and and people in the game aren't allowed to criticise them, then they're never going to get any better.
if Turney hasn't got anything against Liverpool, how come he's got this record that looks like he has? He's there was the non-sending off of Harry Kane, and then he sent Robbo off in the same game for something
Yeah.
far less severe.
Yeah.
There was a penalty he didn't give. That was in that away game at Tottenham for a foul. I think that was on Jota. And the man is a joke. And the thing is, there's so many referees. now. You see them this season, and they're very, very poor. But criticise one, and there's a united front. They're like the Masons. That's how I've termed them. It's like you know, close ranks, look after your own, and that shouldn't be happening. They should come out and say, why did you do that, and tell us why. I mean, they'll say to a manager, why did you sub so and so, and the manager will have to tell you why.
Yeah.
Or if a player misses a chance, they're not going to say on TV, you should have put that one away, shouldn't you? You know, but they will say you had to work on getting in the next one right or something. You know, Mo missed a penalty against Brighton, and then against Bournemouth, and then against Arsenal, and they were asking, "Are you still going to take penalties?" Of course he is. You know, he scored the last two, but that's how they are. They want to criticise footballers. They want to criticise managers, but they don't want to. They're not allowed. They can't. They won't go and criticise referees. I've not seen a journalist who's written anything about the incompetence of people like Paul Tierney. We've all seen the games when we played in Europe, not just this year, but previous years, and the level of refereeing that you get from some of these guys in Europe, we've never heard of them. They've come from Istanbul, they've come from Norway, they come from Finland, or maybe the Faroe Islands even. But they're so much better than ours. They've got a better attitude, and there's very rarely a problem. There's no. It all seems so different.
But the mad thing is, you can't. They can't be held to account. They've actually got a rule. The Football Association has a rule. It's called the E3 rule, which states that managers are not permitted to imply bias or attack the integrity of the referee. Well, if there is a suspicion of bias, that means they're allowed to have bias, because you're not allowed to. The managers are not allowed to imply bias. So if you do have a biased ref, then they're allowed to be biased, because the managers are not allowed to say, hang on a minute. They're not. That's what the rule says. They're not allowed to question it. That's just bizarre. That you know.
As I say, now we've had people like Anthony Taylor refereeing games against sides from Manchester. And where does Anthony Taylor reside? He's from Greater Manchester. So you know. I just feel that refereeing standards have dropped alarmingly, and I'm talking about in the.
And they were never good in the first place.
Oh, no. But I mean, I used to be involved with in local football, and you did get to see referees, and you knew what referees were like, and what made them tick. And I met some who became they weren't to the standard. They weren't on the Premier Division as it is now, apart from one, Peter Jones. But these guys, you knew them off the field, and they were totally different. But they were also very good referees, and you could sense that. But now, I mean, you get a referee come into a game at Anfield now, and you think, I've not seen him before. You know, they're all so new, and all right, they've got a hard job. No one's going to say the job's easy, because we've had games this season where players have been openly wasting time. You know, Arsenal, they were wasting time and feigning injury when they were 2-0 up, and that sparked the crowd into action. And again, the referee, you know who it was, and the response from the crowd drove the team on, and we nearly won the game. But you know, there's got to be understanding on both sides, and I'm not going to say Paul Tierney's biased. I'm not going to say he's dishonest, but if he's not incompetent, then you have to ask about his integrity, and if it isn't his integrity, then he is incompetent.
Yes, it can't be. It's got to be one or the other, hasn't it? Yeah, it's got to be one or the other. All right. Well, the team playing well at the minute, and we're on how many games in a row now? It's been a long time since we lost one. Yeah. Is top four, and after the Newcastle and Man United results, is top four a reality now? What do you reckon, Kev?
Well, I'm a bit of a pessimist, if I'm honest. But then I didn't think it was coming when we had the sort of the lockdown season until sort of Alisson's header at the end. It feels this year we're fighting against a slightly different collection of teams that aren't going to drop enough points to sort of let us sneak in there, because we ended up finishing third that year.
Yeah.
Because Chelsea sort of kind of nearly threw it away themselves as well, because I think they tipped Tottenham to it. But yeah, I suppose a lot rests on what Manchester United have got at home, or what they do at home, because they've got 3 home games. But
Games in
yeah,
hand too. Is it 2 games in hand as well?
2 games in hand, yeah. So it would be great, but we've got Southampton away the last game, so you'd think we'd pick up points there. If we go into that last game needing a win to get it, I think we could do it, but I think it might be out of our hands by then.
John?
I agree. I think it is out of our hands. We're relying on snooker, so to speak. But you know, Manchester United, they're not playing well, but they've got home games, and they're not playing anybody that should cause them too many problems. I don't see them. Or Newcastle. Newcastle to me might be the one that people are not looking at. They played Leeds this weekend, and you've got the Allardyce factor.
That's the one, John. I think if they lose against Leeds, and it can sort of start a snowball, because they've got one other hard game which I can't think of without looking and tapping away to find it. But yeah, I think Newcastle are the one to watch.
Yeah, so I agree. I just don't know, because you're getting some weird results. I mean, the weird results were yesterday. You know, 21 goals was it in 3 games, and who'd have thought that? You know, it's a match of a day on its own, isn't it? That program on its own, incredible. And nobody saw the Everton result coming. The other 2 maybe, but nobody saw the Everton result coming. Not 5, not
Yeah.
like that, against
Yeah.
a team that recently had beaten somebody 6-0 and then Manchester United 1-0. But
Yeah.
but we shall see. I mean, at the
We
end of
should
the
see.
day, the league table doesn't lie. You finish where you deserve, and that's how it'll be. But
I think the good thing is, John, is like when you and I spoke on the last show a couple of weeks ago, a lot of fans were just wanting this season to be over. But now with the jump in form, I think it's given people something, you know, they're entertaining again. It's good to watch them again. It's like, you know, the top 4 is a bit out of reach, but at least the teams come good now, you know, and we want the season to continue. We want like a couple of weeks ago, we wanted the season to end. Now we just wish it went a bit longer, because we'd be all right if it was long enough, if the season went a bit longer, you know? So it's given us that.
yeah, I agree. But I just think that it is a bit of a forlorn hope. And if you talk about being a pessimist, Kev, that's my life. You know, I see a cloud in the sky and I think it's going to pour. It's
Yeah.
you know, but who knows?
If
Who
you've
knows?
never seen John at Anfield, John is the bloke who occasionally you'll see with his head down, shaking his head. That's John. That's how John Pearman enjoys watching Liverpool a lot. Yeah,
And
a
that's
lot
when
for a
we
lot of
lost.
the time.
And that's when we lost the toss.
Yeah. What about next season then? What do we reckon for next season?
I actually think it's all down to the summer signings, assuming there's going to be some summer signings. But I'm pinning a lot of faith on players that we have at the club. Stefan Baccetic, I never pronounce his name quite right, but he to me can be the player that Liverpool fans want. You know, he's 2 years younger, I think it is, than Jude Bellingham. It's cost us nothing in terms of money. Harvey Elliott, I think given a close season when he can rebuild his strength, get his confidence back up to what it was. Not that his confidence has gone, but get him playing to the level he was before that horrific injury last season. I still think this lad who we loaned to Blackburn, Tyler Morton, he's another one. He's now suffering from an injury, but you have to, if you want to play for Liverpool, you've got to be injured, as it seems to be the law. If he can come, there's 3 midfield players 3 midfield players has cost Liverpool what? Chicken feed by comparison to the fees that's been bandied around. And you've still got players there like Fabinho, like Thiago, if he gets fit again, and even Henson, who can be, they can become the James Milners. They can become the people who you can turn to. So there's a lot there.
And Jota as well. And then you've got Diaz and Curtis as well.
Yeah, but you've also got young Ben Doak, who's you know I can't wait to see him playing. I watched him playing in the under-21s a couple of weeks ago, again on LFC TV, and he was inspired. He's such a great player, and you know, get Jurgen Klopp working with these players for what we've got 2 months, 3 months, whatever it may be in the close season. They're not going to be there all the time, obviously, but get Jurgen Klopp working with them players for a period of time, and we'll see what we've got. And you're right, up front, we've got the world's best forward in Mo Salah. I don't care about Haaland and his 150 goals or whatever it might be at Man City by the end of the season, but we've got Mo Salah who's still scoring goals. You come out of Anfield now, you don't say who did Salah score. You ask him what record has he broken today. He just like every time we play a game, he breaks a record, and he's catching up with. He won't catch Ian Rush, but he's having a bloody good go at catching everybody else. And the thing is, people turn around and say it's not been his best season.
Yeah,
and he scored 30. So I don't know what Kevin thinks.
Well, I've got a similar level of enthusiasm in the youngsters, John, but I do feel we need that sort of middle ground. We need to get in some sort of 26, 27-year-olds maybe just to grow into the roles that the experienced players we've got at the moment have. And loads of people always ask us about various people we've been linked with. I don't really care with Klopp. I'm quite happy to see what we settle with at the end of August, because I know he'll generally improve players, and he'll sort of pick up the right players and won't kind of allow us to pick up too many Arthurs because he's definitely going back to Italy. So, but yeah, I think it feels like they're just too young at the moment to really do anything for us next year. But there's got to be breakthrough seasons for a lot of them.
What about Nunes? Where are we on Nunes?
Well, he's still really young though, isn't he? He's not in that bracket because of how much we paid for him, or will eventually pay whenever payments kick in. But it feels like another year under Klopp, a full pre-season. We've had to kind of alter our style to sort of get him in. So again, I don't think he's. Well, I think he's not been as bad as anybody makes out in the media. It does feel a bit of a witch hunt sometimes towards him, because you look at what he's done, and that's about par for the course for a player that's come from a weaker European league, is still very young. So yeah, I think he might come good next year.
I also think about Nunes. I actually think one of the problems is that I'm not 100% certain Jurgen knows where to play him, because so far he's played on the left, he's played in the middle, and he comes on or he starts, and you think, well, where are they actually playing him? But if you could get a settled position and say, right, that's it, you're playing there, then fine. But Jota's come in and played really well. But Jota is such a hard worker, but so is Nunes. Nunes never stops running, and people should sometimes watch what he does off the ball. He's always going back to think, well, I want that ball. He's not hiding. You've seen players come, not just at Liverpool, but anywhere around the leagues. If they're not scoring the goals that the media believe they should be scoring, then they go and hide away. He's not doing that. All right, he possibly should have scored on Saturday, but no. So should Gakpo. I still don't know how that one that came.
I don't know how that one stayed out.
I don't know how it didn't go in, because I said to the guy next to me, I said, "Well, I'm sure that's only had to hit his knee and it was rolling." He said, "I don't know how it got there," but anyway, that's how it goes. However, Kev's right. Give them time, and he's a young player. Let's see what he does when we've got when we've got Diaz flying again, getting firing on all cylinders, that's not going to happen this season. He needs a break. He needs this summer to build his strength up, get the pre-season, get some friendly games going, and I hope Jurgen plays the forwards in pre-season. Don't play one of them and surround him with a couple of 15-year-olds. Play the ones that's going to play. Let's get out there and get the team working together, and let's see what we've got.
Yeah. All right then. Well, a couple of other things to talk about, John. The Red All Over the Land, the next live event. We did the last one. Was it November, John? Is that when we did it?
November the 26th.
Right, and that was a huge success. That was a great night at Hotel Anfield with our very special guests, John Aldridge and Steve McMahon, who were really entertaining. Everybody was great that night. The auction went really well. The raffle went well. We even had an announcement that the show Anne had won because in London at the same time they were at the TV Awards, and we were able to make the announcement to the fans in the room, and the roof nearly came up. Well, it was a tent, but the top nearly came up. That was a great night, and we've got another great night planned. John, tell us all about that.
Yeah, we've got Phil Thompson. We're celebrating what will be the anniversary of Shankly's third and final title at Anfield, the 50th anniversary of that, and the 50th anniversary of winning the first European trophy, the UEFA Cup. And of course, we should remember that Tomo went on to be involved in a final in 2001 as assistant manager or head coach. And of course, we won that in Dortmund. Absolutely great night. Strange games go. That was strange. Yeah, we went from having a stroll to having a nightmare. A bit like that, bit par for the course, I suppose, when you look at some of our games in recent years. But yeah, we've got Phil Thompson. We've got David Jaggs from the Ragamuffins, who was
great in November. He was just great, getting everybody singing. Yeah.
So the tickets are still on sale. We've got a lot. People can still buy them. They just go to the redallovertheland.com. They can buy them on there. I've been giving it as much publicity as I can. I was actually on the Anfield Wrap this afternoon, giving it a plug. And,
do you know when that goes out, John? When will we see you on that?
I believe it's Friday.
Okay.
Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thankfully, you don't have to look at me; you'll only hear me. So it's we're open. I'm working on it anyway. Working hard on the event, and we're hoping that it will be a success.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the other one you've already planned, or is that one do we just want to talk about the Phil Thompson one on June the 2nd first?
The other one planned is, of course, in November when we've got Kevin Keegan, but that's going to be a totally different idea. We'll work on that once we've got Tomo out the way.
So Red All Over the Land now is a truly multimedia experience now. You've got the fanzine to buy at the match, you've got Red All Over YouTube to watch online, and you've got live events as well, which we video and they're online. The November, if you check it out, if you Google Red All Over the Land, you'll find that on YouTube. We've got that videoed as well. So it is all happening now, John. You've really expanded this empire of yours.
Well, your empire? Yeah, you mean this room?
Exactly.
I did start off with a shed.
You did, yes.
I did progress from my old house to a shed, and now back to this room, where you can't swing a cat round. If they did come in here, there's not enough room for them. So we're hoping to get a lot more things going. We've got the Red All Over the Land badges that's going on sale this week. Sold about 20 online. We've got a few other ideas in the pipeline. We want to try and link in with Mersey Beat, which is 60 years ago today. The Beatles taught the world to play, or the bands to play. Not quite like that, I know, but and then Cop taught the world to sing. Yeah. So we've done all right. But if you want to say, we're trying to keep Red All Over the Land on a different level now. It's moved on.
Yeah, okay. So the night is Phil Thompson. It's the 2nd of June at Hotel Anfield. Tickets at redallovertheland.com. Next game then, away at Leicester on Monday. How are we going to go? Do you want to predict this one, Kev?
3-1, sadly, because we'll probably keep Everton up. But yeah,
That's a point. That's a point.
It's
Keep
painful.
Everton up. Yeah.
yeah, it's painful to think that we're going to win there, and probably hear the cheering from Merseyside. So,
Well, I have connections at Leicester, and I get my friends from Leicester telling me they said if Leicester were poor, it'd be an improvement.
Right.
They, yeah, but the thing is, the last time we had a 7 or 8 day rest was before we played Leeds, and we went there and won 6-1, and Leeds the previous game had let 5 in. So Leicester let 5 in at Fulham, and now we're going there. Like a lot of people, I would love, love, love to quote Kevin Keegan. I'd absolutely love it if Everton went down, but
Yes.
it's not going to happen.
You don't think? You think they'll do what they usually do, which is
No, well, it's not them. It's not their successful fight.
yeah,
This you're going to have teams that could stop up this season in the Premier Division with 34, 35 points.
yeah,
Normally you finish bottom with them that number of points.
yeah.
But
You don't normally
yeah,
have Southampton as poor, though, do you? In other seasons.
but I don't know. I I just want us to win every game, and I don't worry about Everton. They're not going to be a threat next season at the top of the table, whether they're in
No.
our division or another one.
Whoever's
But
going to be managing them.
well, Sean Dyche will still be the manager. There'll be a statue built outside Goodison for him if he keeps them up again.
Okay.
Do
So,
that.
so you both predict that there will be Merseyside derbies next season.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that brings us on to your book then, Kev. Kev Pogorzelski. The book is called Divided Cities. There it is. John's got the book right there. It covers a number of worldwide derbies that divide cities, such as Liverpool, Glasgow, Rio, Milan, Genoa, Lisbon. So where are you right now? Where are we talking to you?
So I'm Portsmouth at the moment. I sort of come back and forth between the places. I might be back in Liverpool permanently at some stage. I mean, that's a bit of a plan of ours, but yeah. So that's where I am. It's quite a journey that we do on occasion. I spent last week in Liverpool because of the 3 games.
Yeah.
Staying with friends, so that's quite handy to have contacts up there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I lived in Bournemouth for a long time, as John knows, and I know just what a trek it is up to Anfield and back. We used to do it there and back in a day, and it's a long time on the road. Yeah. Yeah. But you've travelled extensively, experiencing and writing about football around the world. What first got you interested in the game, and in particular derbies?
So, I've been coming to Liverpool for 30 plus odd years. So there's the interest in the same city derbies. I think probably sprung from that, but then an interest in going around the world to see games sprung from probably seeing the same sort of teams play Liverpool every year at Anfield, and also going to the same sort of European destinations, which is why a very, very small part of me thinks the Europa League sort of season will be quite nice because you get to see the Augsburgs of this world.
John, you'd agree because you used to travel to Europe a lot with Liverpool, and you preferred going to the more exotic places of the old UEFA Cup.
The thing is, you can go to Madrid, you can go to Barcelona, and think, the stadiums are fantastic. The opposition have got world class players, but then you go to a little place like Kasiši, which was in Slovakia, still is, and we were there, and we were treated. Like the locals just thought, wow, these have come out, to come to our city. And I can't remember, I think the crowd's only about 7,000, and most of them were from Liverpool. And quite a few of the locals were supporting Liverpool. So, it was, I think it was Martin Skirtle who came from nearby. So it was something else. And then we went to Slovan Liberec, which we had to stop in Prague and then get a bus up to Slovan or Liberec, and it was a 3-sided ground. There were trees down one side. You don't find that. That's a bit like Braga in Portugal. You don't find that in the Champions League. You do find these grounds that's a bit like a bit old fashioned, if you like. And what's wrong with playing a team that from halfway up the Dutch league or you know.
And yet people don't think that I will be happy if we go into the Europa League. But exactly what John's just said there is, why you do these things. And I got really into going out to games. Anytime I went on holiday with a wife, we'd make sure. Well, I'd make sure there was a game to go to, and then I'd started doing some freelance writing for Italian football sites because that's my era. I'm sort of early 40s now, and sort of 90 World Cup got me into Italian football, and just co-founded this season total-italianfootball.com if people want to look that up. A little plug there.
What is it? What's the site again, Kev?
total-italianfootball.com. And people can go and find what we've been doing there. But we've been going under different guises for about 10 years. And friends of mine, when we were at the Genoa Sampdoria derby, which is covered in the book, said, "Well, why don't you write about this?" I think I've always been a keen reader, so I think it's very much sort of a bucket list thing. And I've met Brian Reed on a few European aways, who's done some wonderful Liverpool books, and I've always kind of held them in quite high esteem because I think it must be a real achievement to write your own book. So I set off on this journey to then go to the same city derbies because I can kind of feel what happens in our city when the derby's there and how it's kind of changed in the last couple of years. And initially, I didn't intend on including the Merseyside derby because I thought I'd be too close to it and I'd maybe be a bit too biased and things. And then they were playing so poorly last year that a friend offered me a ticket in the Gladys Street. So I went in disguise, and kind of the atmosphere was so toxic that I sort of came away and thought, okay, I've got a relatively short but interesting way to compare it to when I was a kid. We're talking sort of mid 90s, when we used to go to each other's stadiums and we used to sit in the other end. Person who got me the ticket for the Gladys Street last year, I remember them sitting in their Everton shirt for one of the derbies when Fowler did his Rigobert song impression. At least that's what he called it anyway. So, and it's just changed so much, and it's a shame it's changed so much.
Yeah. What is the most passionate? Sorry, John.
I'd agree with Kev there. And I was interested when I read it, and it was going about some of the songs the Evertonians were singing in the concourse. But back in the 90s, I used to get tickets for the derby from a guy. He was actually a Tranmere fan, but he did have leanings towards Everton, and he got me a ticket a couple of times. So you were in the above the dugouts in Everton in their ground. I've still got the splinters, and it was they didn't care who you supported. You were there. You were watching a game of football. At the end of the game, they'd abused you during the game, called you a few names, nothing nasty, and you'd done likewise, and then you shook hands and went home. And back in the early 90s, it was when Peter Beardsley was playing for Everton, and he came back to Anfield, and I was sitting in the then paddock, and the guy sitting next to me, you could tell he was an Everton fan because we scored pretty early on, and then again, and he said I'm off home, and I thought, oh right, okay, and I realised then that he was the only person in the area that wasn't jumping up when we scored. But their fans used to come and stand in the Kop.
I've been on the Kop when there's been Everton fans in Everton shirts at a derby.
Yeah. So, but and that's what I say. The book, I must admit, I read that chapter first. It's the last chapter, but I read that first because I wanted to get your take on the Merseyside derby. I was interested that you were in the Gladys, and I can imagine it was toxic, very, and of course it didn't help because Rafa was there. It's
he was, yeah. But I mean, each of the chapters is my journey. It's as much almost like a travel blog as it is this kind of history of the two derbies weaved into each chapter. So I like to think that people can pick it up if they bought it from Belgrade, and they go straight to that chapter between Red Star and Partizan. Then they can kind of go to the start and read the introduction and things, because I think it made it probably easier to write, because it was sort of those little, I say little, about 9,000 words per chapter, but those little sort of segmented journeys. But yeah, it's you asked about the most passionate. They're all different in their own way. I think there was a few where I expected a little bit more of the derby. So there was the Glasgow derby, or the Old Firm, but
Yeah, no, the Old Firm derby, that is held up, isn't it, as the most intense. What was your experience of that then?
Well, they've gone tit for tat with this sort of reducing the allocations of away fans. So there was about 500 fans in Celtic Park that day, and you just kind of didn't get that same vibrancy I think you get where, if you read the chapters from Rome and Genoa, where you've got almost an equal split of supporters, partly because they play in the same same stadium. It's lost something, and Buenos Aires was the same. You had this Copa Libertadores that had to be moved to Madrid the year before, because there's been no fans between Buenos Aires clubs, or no away fans between Buenos Aires clubs since 2012. And talking to the fans around there, it's lost that. They do like a 2-mile perimeter around the Monumental, was the stadium I went to. So again, you don't even get sort of the light-hearted jesting between groups of fans in pubs and things. So those two sort of underwhelmed. The one that was a real surprise was the Budapest derby, where I kind of I attempted to order a beer and a hot dog at a bar, and ended up ordering 8 hot dogs until somebody came and rescued me, and then turned out they were one of the Ferencváros Green Monster Ultras. Told them what I was there for, and then got introduced to this ultra leader, where I had to sort of go through an interrogation, or an interview, shall we call it, to actually make sure that they were convinced I wasn't either undercover police, even UK, and that I wasn't going to write anything bad about them. But
and you had to buy them a lot of hot dogs, what? Because they were just telling you that they want another hot dog, kind of thing.
Yeah,
what are you going to do about it?
Or attempt at Hungarian. I'd sort of stood in the queue trying to practice it, and then, all these things came that I didn't order, and so I was just offering them to other people. And this one person went, no, I'll help you out. What did you actually want? And I'm like, a beer and a hot dog would be lovely.
Right.
And then, so it sort of sparked this conversation. So it's the book's full of that sort of strange little situations, which the wife would tell people I have a habit of getting myself into, particularly if I'm left on my own for too long, probably.
John, you've been to a couple of derbies in South America, haven't you?
In Rio. I went to one of the games that Kev's mentioned, a game in the stadium. When I went to Rio on holiday, and the one thing I wanted to do and was going to do was go to the Maracanã. You have to do it. You just have to go. And I was there for 3 weeks, so I got ample opportunity. And the thing in Brazil, they play football basically 12 months of the year. They have 2 leagues. They have they have the proper league, what we'd call the normal league, and then they have like a summer league, which is played in our winter. But it's regionalised, so it's basically the Rio district. So I went to a game between Vasco and Botafogo, which was, if you like, that's sort of like a second level derby. And I was watching the TV, because you think we have round the clock wall to wall coverage now on Sky. Well, they would do. This was in the I think it was 92, and they'd got it then. And I was watching this program, and it was telling you about the games coming up, and I thought, why are they talking about the game already? They're talking about the weekend's game. It's a bit like Sky now, where they let one game drop after about 3 games, like our game with Tottenham, and then start on the next one. and I was watching the build up, and they kept coming up with this thing. It's nil Valencia or something like that, and I'm thinking, why are they on about the violence and that? And of course, anyway, I went on to the game. It was an organised trip, so I went from the hotel, and I thought I'd be okay here. So I got in the ground, and there's a guy there, and I'd got a Liverpool hat on, got my Liverpool hat on, and he said, "Oh, you come from Liverpool?" He spoke reasonably good English. And I said, "Yeah," and I said, "What's all this about the violence?" He said, "Oh, when we play these," he says, "we don't like them. Don't like these." I said, "Oh, okay then." I said, "Is there any trouble?" He said, "Well, the last time we played, somebody got shot." Oh, okay. That. But I don't know if Kev had this feeling that. I also watched. I'll let Kev talk about the other derby, the Flamengo Botafogo. Is it the sorry Flamengo Flamengo? Yeah, you know the other derby, which is that's their Liverpool Everton. That's their main one. But when I was there, I was just surprised because it was my first experience of a football match in this sort of surroundings where this was the Maracanã before it was rebuilt, and the teams came out from underground one side, and the referees came out from the other side of the stadium with a police escort, and that was before the game. It was, but
Right.
it was
We
quite
had people
amazing.
around the pitch, sort of very reminiscent of sort of stormtroopers
Yeah,
towards the end of the game. But actually, the Rio derby between Flamengo and Fluminense very much reflected kind of the Rio public. There was almost like a carnival atmosphere. Flamengo were very much on top. Sort of, it was 2018 I went, so they were kind of building to where they played us in the sort of Club World Cup. That was kind of their golden period, kind of stopped where they played us in the Club World Cup. But yeah, it had that sort of carnival atmosphere almost from when you got to the Maracanã to outside. Although we did get shot at towards the end, and yeah, one for people to read to see how that came about. But I also went up to Vasco, John, and decided to get up there on my own, and it's one of the most violent favelas in Rio. People tell me now, and they attempted to mug me, but I actually never took anything with me, sort of because I've been pre-warned. I sort of just took 20 quid or whatever it was in cash, didn't take my watch, stuffed my mobile phone down my boxers, and just sort of took my chances.
well, I'd been given some advice before I went to Rio by somebody. It was work related because the company I work for actually had a business in Rio, and they introduced me told me to go and meet this guy to take some papers actually over for him. And when he said, "Well, when you go to the game," he says, "Put your money in your sock." He said, "That's when we go out. That's where we put our money." He said, "They can pick your pocket, but they can't pick your sock." So I did. So I put everything in my sock. And
Did they not hear you coming? The coins, the coins got a chunking around. But
no, it was an experience, but I actually loved it. I loved Rio, and you did learn a little about their football love. It dwarfs anything that we have.
Wow.
It was fantastic.
You also cover the Milan derbies, and I know you've been to a Milan derby as well, John. The thing I can't work out, because the Italians don't own their own ground. It's the council. It's like a municipal facility that the council owns. And I've been to the San Siro. It was Milan versus Ascoli, and they had the militant Milan fans at one end with the drum and their own PA system and what have you. And I was thinking, do the Inter fans have the other end, or do they, when they play at home, are they both in the same home end? How does it work and then when it's the derby, do they have to go in the other? I mean, how does that all work? Do they have an end each kind of thing?
yeah, they've got an end each, and then they kind of get to do in the sides when it's tomorrow. There's the first semi-final will be the derby,
Right.
and I imagine they've got some wonderful choreography planned, because that's one of the beautiful things about Italian football is the fan choreography.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see. So they basically, they're always in the home end, even at their derby. Okay. Yeah. And how intense are they? Because the game I went to, I thought, Ascoli were nobodies, but it was a pretty intense, pretty intimidating atmosphere. We were on the side, but up quite high, but near the side of the Milan fans, and I wouldn't. They were kind of scary, but of course I couldn't understand what they were saying. It could have been something quite nice. Who knows? But
Yeah, I think that's the thing with the Glasgow derby, where where I can understand the language. You kind of probably you realise, there's a few quotes in the book of fans even throwing abuse at the police. You maybe don't realise that when you're in foreign climes. But yeah, Milan this year, because I went in February for the derby. It's certainly probably the most commercial in Italy. There's lots and lots of kind of tourist fans, if you like. So you
right,
really do have to experience. You're probably going to get a closer experience to the Milan sort of ultra movement when you can actually get closer to where they are. Because if you go as a just as a tourist, while you're there to the derby, you'll know that it's probably even more equally sort of split than what the Merseyside derby was. 30
right,
years.
yeah. How did you find the Milan derby, John?
Well, it ended 2-2, and I don't think it really mattered too much at that time. It was just it was an experience because I like to watch. One thing I've done when I've watched Liverpool away in Europe, the fans are very different to England. They never stop making a noise, even if the other team score. They still seem to make a noise.
Always.
They don't, they don't just throw the sit down and think, oh, it's like we do. They always seem to be making a noise, and but like you, Graham, I couldn't understand what they were singing or shouting.
Yeah,
But it was an experience. The strange thing about that game, from my side of it, that was on the Sunday evening, and at that time, Italian football was being treated like the Premier League is now. It was they had all the show business, sexy presenters on their television, and I came home from that. Got home at something like 10 o'clock in the morning after the game, and went to the house, got myself a bit of dinner, and went straight off up to Goodison Park to watch Liverpool lose in the Merseyside derby. And I sat in the upper Bullens then, but with the Everton fans.
right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember about it. But the game I'd been, Kevin, you've been to the one in Buenos Aires, and the Argentine. They must be different animals. No pun intended from Alf Ramsey.
Yeah, it's probably more tribalistic than those Brazilian derbies. The one that I've sort of described as almost carnival like. I fell in love with Buenos Aires. We're actually going back in about 7 weeks' time, because we also realised a bit like Brazil, football's played round the clock. So if you go for 12 days, you can get about 13 games of football in. And I'm desperate to see the Bombonera, because I saw the derby in the Monumental, so River Plate's home stadium, and I only went for sort of 72 hours, which now just seems crazy that I did that, and I went without a ticket on the hope that we could get one. But yeah, Argentinian football is obviously very popular at the moment. I certainly got a spotlight on it after their World Cup win. So if anybody, it sounds like it needs to be on your list, John.
Sorry, who's?
It needs to be on your list of places to go.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to make it. Not now. Yeah, I mean, I've struggled to get to the Chester derby against Wrexham. But the thing I like about your book, it does actually say it's divided cities, and I still think that they're the real derbies. Even like Bristol City, Bristol Rovers. That's a real derby. When you think that Newcastle and Sunderland, to me, that's not a derby.
Yeah,
That's a rivalry. It's not a derby.
yeah,
And the same with the North London. You can't divide. Well, you can, I suppose. London, you divided them to about, I don't know how many teams are in the Premier Division now, 9 or 10. But you've got Brentford and all these teams. But it's quite funny that I think since television's taken over the game in England, um, derbies have been created. Like you know, Graham, you live in Hitchin. You're not too far from Watford, but their biggest rivals are Luton. They call
Yes.
it the M1 Derby. Well, who invented that? You know, I don't think in 1955 or whenever there was a Luton and Watford that had a derby.
Well, they didn't have an
Um,
M1, so they couldn't be the M1
no,
derby then.
no, they call it the M1 derby, and the rivalry between Forest and Derby only really came about because of Clough. You know, it's when
Yeah.
Clough left Derby and went to first of all Brighton, and then he went to Leeds, and then he went to Brighton, and that. Yeah, that's where the rivalry started there, because Forest's biggest rivals were always Leicester.
Yes.
And you know, people say, "Oh, Leicester's rivals should be Coventry." Well, they're not. Leicester's biggest rivals are Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, I don't see them as derbies. I see them as rivalries. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, Ryan, we've now got rivalries with what, Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United. They're inventing one with Newcastle. You
Yeah.
know, if somebody beats us, we're right. They become a rival. You know,
Yeah.
we must go and beat them. People still talk about Leicester being the bogey side. That was 1960s. But
Yes.
yeah, you know, but that's the way it is. But I think I've not actually quite finished the book, but I really have enjoyed reading. I do like seeing how opposition fans react. You know, Kevin, you've seen a lot of these teams that come to Anfield, and the overall support of the European teams inside Anfield. You do mention the derby and the Seville derby. Well, I can remember when Seville fans came, and Real Betis fans have been to Anfield, and they were absolutely brilliant. Nothing bad about them at all. And when we went to Seville, when we played Betis, this was, um, yeah, you know, you're walking around there, and they're all coming up and thanking you for going. You know, but they wanted to beat you, but they were tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
So, Kev,
Yeah,
does I mean, Liverpool and Everton used to be known as the friendly derby, and it's not so much now. Is there a friendly derby anywhere in the world?
I doubt it. Not in those same, some of the ones that John's just mentioned. I think where you can get in and get out, those rivalries. But I think for the ones certainly that I've been looking at, where it's the same city, where the majority of the people after the game are going to have to live and breathe with these people and go to work with them. I think it makes it very difficult to be friendly. At least in the immediate aftermath of a defeat. So yeah, I've not found one yet, Graham, but there's obviously
You
there's another country
you
where
you get teams in Turkey who can. I mean, the this is hell um,
Yeah.
thing. You know, but yeah, you can feel how they are. But the strangest thing was when we went to Istanbul in 2005, we did something that society can't do in Turkey. We actually united all the fans. They were all coming out
Yes.
for a drink with us. You were there, Graham, and you know
Yeah.
the fans of all the sides from Istanbul were all mixing with Liverpool fans. So there were no fierce rivalry. They just wanted to see
we
us, sell
were
us
swapping
as.
shirts with them the night before the game in one of the bars.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know, we were swapping shirts with them. There were Liverpool shirts going one way and sort of Fenerbahce and the Besiktas
Oh
shirt
yeah, yeah.
the other way.
And so the
Um,
the only thing that they wanted to do with us was sell us cigarette lighters, whether we get smoked or not. Off just come buy this off, or chewing gum. But yeah, But go back to when I was in Rio. I went into a bar after I'd been there for 3 weeks. I was confident enough. I'd got to know people in this bar, and I'd got a T-shirt on, just a T-shirt with "You'll Never Walk Alone" on it, and somebody came up and said, "You're going home soon. Can I have your T-shirt?" And I said, "Oh, okay. What now?" And he says, "1 minute." And he went off somewhere, and he came back with one with Pele when he was playing for the New York Cosmo. So he gave me this, and I gave him mine. I actually kept that T-shirt that he gave me for about 20 years. Yeah, fell apart then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
What he did with mine, I don't know.
I got given a sporting club scarf while I was in Lisbon, on the agreement that I would take it to Kiev. So there's a picture somewhere of me with this sporting club scarf in Kiev. But yeah, like you say, it's sort of, and I think particularly now it's easier to stay in contact with all those people. I probably speak to most of my contacts across all those derbies, the people that I've just met, without any sort of pre-agreement that we would be meeting and things, and speak to them at least once a month. So it's really nice, and I've been welcomed back constantly. The Betis fans invited me back to watch them beat Manchester United this season in the Europa League, which didn't quite happen. So I'm glad I didn't fork out for the flight. But
Pity you didn't go to Seville because they did.
yeah, that's it. I went in the wrong end, John. That was what it was.
All right. I mean, I just think I don't know. I just think when you go abroad and you watch their football, they are different. I mean, I would love to go and watch a game in Dortmund because you get the sense that
because they were
are.
great when they came to Anfield, weren't they?
Oh,
The
yeah,
Dortmund
yeah.
fans. I got the bus from town, and it was it was half and half, Liverpool and Dortmund, and it was just, you could tell it was going to be a special night because there was just such a vibe between the two sets of fans. It was lovely. Yeah.
I was an early Klopp disciple because we purposely took a trip to Dortmund in 2012 to go on the yellow wall and see that Dortmund side that would have been winning the second Bundesliga title in a row at that point. So yeah, I was all in from the start with Jurgen.
Well, I can remember when Dortmund came to Anfield to play a friendly in 2014, and I remember writing in the fanzine this guy who was the Dortmund manager wearing a cap and wearing all of his tracksuits, and I thought, he's the guy I want to come and manage our club. You just there was something there. You just felt, yeah, he's the guy.
So both of you had Klopp. Both of you had Klopp odds on for Liverpool then, or as a favourite for Liverpool.
Yeah,
you knew he'd be a good fit.
Yeah, it just you could sense it was a marriage, if you like, a football marriage. It was he's the one we want. Let's get him. Yeah, look across the crowded floor. That's him, Mal. That's the one. Yeah, fantastic.
So I'm going to ask you to pick one memorable derby. It could be Liverpool, it could be anybody. If you could pick one game that stands out as a memorable derby, well, Kev, you've probably got the hardest decision because you've been to so many different derbies around the world. What one would it be for you?
I'll choose the Genoa derby because rather than so it's Sampdoria Genoa. Rather the two teams be sort of fighting for silverware, they're often fighting to relegate each other. And when I went last year, Sampdoria all but relegated Genoa with saving a penalty from the captain of Genoa in the sort of the 95th minute, in injury time. And that pretty much sent them down. And it was just, being in with the Sampdoria fans with that. It seems to have an added intensity when you're relegating your rival rather than sort of, stealing silverware off of them.
Yeah. John?
Pity we've not got Everton in the next couple of weeks then, but mine, I look at our derby and I think there's a lot of games that's been played over the years, down the years, that have been absolutely memorable, and most in Liverpool's favour. So I would have picked the Gary McAllister goal if you'd have asked me a couple of years ago.
When he moved the ball, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'd say that started off as a 25-yard shot. It's now, as I say, I think said to you earlier on, Graham, when we're talking off air, I think he moved it to Anfield to take it. It's that far off, and Everton fans still say it shouldn't have been allowed. But the goal that Divock Origi scored in the 94th minute, and that when Van Dijk's miscue, lob, shot, whatever it was, hit the bar, bounced on the bar twice. George and Pickford was going like this, and it bounced straight off Divok's head and into the net. Well, and the Everton fans, because they were drawing 0-0, had thrown a blue flare on the pitch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we walked down. It was played at Christmas, and I think George chose to play "Having a Simply Wonderful Christmas Time." And coming down the escalators in the main stand, that was all you could hear, and
Yeah.
it was because of the no. I mean, it had got 0-0 written right all over it until that very very last second, and Jurgen running on the pitch to celebrate with Allison. Allison had actually hurried up to get the ball to give it to take the free kick or whatever it was, and just all happened. Everybody was in where we were when Van Dijk had hit the thing. Well, wash, that sort of thing, and people were picking up the bags, getting ready to walk out. And the next thing is, Divock had scored, and all I could remember was turning around to my mate and saying, "Has he given the goal?" Everybody else was going absolutely crazy, but we thought, did it go out? There's something wrong. There's something not right about it. But now I've seen it 1,000 times now, probably on telly every day, on LFC TV every day. So it was a goal. Yeah.
For me, I mean, I remember the Robbie Fowler one where he sniffed the line. Where I was in the upper tier of the Anfield Road end, so he was right in front of us when he did that. But the most memorable one for me, and it's weird because my memories of games we lost are not normally as clear as the games we won. I have like something in my brain that blocks them out. That thing to try and save you from trauma. If we lose, I don't have as good a memory of the game. But my most memorable derby is the one we lost in 1999 when Francis Jeffers and Sander Westerveld had a punch-up and Steve Staunton had to go in goal and he even saved one. And Stevie G got sent off. And it was just everything going on in that game. And even though we lost it, it was a memorable derby. Yeah, they're just great things. It would, you talk about it now, we'd love to see them get relegated, but it'd be a shame if there was no more derbies. It would be a shame.
Well, the thing is, it gives it'd take away some of the resentment, maybe, if they went out. They could possibly realise just what a wonderful place Anfield is to come. Instead of trying to wreck it. But I did. They won't get relegated, but it would have been nice to think that their first home game at Bramley Dock was against Rotherham or something like that.
That could still happen, though. There's a couple of more seasons before that ground's finished, so there's still time. Yeah, for them to have the most modern ground in the championship. Yeah,
but I do think the Divided Cities. It really is. It's brilliant. It's well worth reading and getting a hold of a copy. And derbies all over the world. They are different. Divided cities are different. I spoke to somebody from Italian TV a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about derbies in Italy, and the person who was explaining it to me, he said that a lot of it is political. Like you get the Rome derby where you've got the Lazio fans who are very, very right wing and still basically look to Mussolini as the leader, so to speak, and then you got the Rome people. They're a different kettle of fish. They've got another agenda. Not a nice one when we found out. So you do get all these people, different opinions, and but I don't know whether they all go back into work on Monday, and some are wearing a grin, some are wearing a frown. But I'd like to find out. And Kev's book does actually. Help you feel what they are actually like, and I just think it's brilliant. And thank you for sharing it with us, Kev. It's great, and I think you've possibly got quite a few stamps in your passport.
Yeah, I've certainly got some stamps, John. Yeah, thanks for the kind words, and it's been lovely coming on.
Yeah, Divided Cities is the name of the book. It's by Kev Pogorzelski. I've got that right now, haven't I? Yeah, I've been practicing. Kev Pogorzelski, and it's Divided Cities. It's from Pitch Publishing, and it's available Amazon, everywhere else. You'll get it where you get your books. It's ebook and everything, and a physical book and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Pictures.
You're going to do an audio book?
I haven't. It certainly won't be me doing it, Graham.
Well, let me know, because that's what I do now. I do audiobooks. I've done
Oh,
175 of them. I'm not pitching for work, but I just thought I'd mention it. Just thought I'd chuck it in there. Yeah.
Obviously, we've got one game left, so if anybody wants to come and say hello and pick up a book, then they can also get in contact with me.
Well, if you come on June the 2nd to the Hotel Anfield, you never know. You might be able to shift a few books that night. You might even be able to raffle a few, or even auction some signed ones off.
And sign a few.
Yeah, sign them. Yeah,
Sign a few and get Tomo to sign them.
Yes, there's a thing. Okay, well, we're looking forward to. We've got an end of season show coming up soon for Red All Over YouTube, and our special guest on that one's going to be Alan Green, John.
That's right. We've got Alan to come on. He's agreed once he remembers how to use all the technology.
Yeah, he has emailed me and asked.
He always says that.
Yeah.
It's strange that the people that we found the most difficult to interview are them that's worked in the
Worked in the
business.
media. Yeah, Brian Barwick was very hesitant as well, didn't we? With Brian Barwick, we had to use. I think we had to use Zoom because he wasn't happy with the system we were using. He hadn't used it before. Anyway, but Alan Green, in case you didn't know, he writes a column in Red All Over the Land. Alan Green was the BBC's senior commentator. He's commentated on World Cups, World Cup finals, lots of Liverpool games. He is a Liverpool fan and a season ticket holder, and he writes a great column in Red All Over the Land. So if you get to catch that. But Alan will help us sum up the season when we do our end of the season show. Will there be a show before that as well, John?
We're trying to fit one in.
Okay,
did I give you a copy of the fanzine, Kev?
Pardon, John?
Did you get a copy of the fanzine?
Not when I saw you Saturday, no.
No, I meant to give you. I'll send you one. So
they're only £2. You mean you were talking to John while he was selling the fanzines? They're only £2, you know, Kev.
We're really talking, even with this
Steve was selling at the time. But, it's. We'd like to see if you want to write a couple of things for us. So email me your address and I'll get a copy in the post tomorrow.
Okay.
We've got Alan Green on. We're trying to get a couple of other people. Trying to get Joe Goodall to come on, who's a follower of the Liverpool women's team. Of course, their season's just coming to a close, and they've had their possibly their best win of the season last weekend when they beat Man City. Although they beat Chelsea earlier on in the season, but I think beating Man City was something else because of the number of people that were turning up. And we're trying to get other people involved. And maybe we can get another journalist on. So that's the plan.
Okay, but in the meantime, get your tickets now while there are some for the Phil Thompson night, June the 2nd at Hotel Anfield. Tickets at redallovertheland.com. Everything you need to know is redallovertheland.com. Buy the fanzine. You'll see John at the match selling the fanzine. You can't miss his chant. Red All Over the Land, Liverpool fanzine, only £2. And it's part of the sound and the atmosphere of Liverpool on a match day. So, hopefully we'll see you on... I'm going to definitely be there, the Phil Thompson night, June the 2nd. John, of course, you'll be there. Kev, you might be there as well. Might be a chance of getting Alan Green there, John, is there? Or is he in America at that time?
I don't know. I'll ask him. I will ask him. Yeah.
Yeah, because George Sefton was there last time, and it was great to hang out with him.
Unfortunately, George is, like a lot of people, he's going on holiday in the close season. I don't understand it. You know, it seems now, because it's funny because last season we were, of course, in the cup finals. And nobody went on holiday. This year I say to people, can you turn it as I'm on holiday? You know, it's like they see what we're playing in and then they go away. But
All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you. We'll see you then. Sorry. John Pearman, editor of Red All Over the Land for 27 and a half years. Thanks for that. Kev Pogorzelski, thanks for coming on and telling us about Divided Cities. It's a cracking book. And as always, please remember, you'll never walk alone.